CMHC's 2025 housing market outlook says home prices in Canada are going up. And as a real estate agent, I support this statement. Lots of data to dig through in this week's video. Canadian Real Estate Association's monthly stats are out. CMHC's got some new information to dig through. Of course, this week's best mortgage rates. Matilda's question of the week, why you should get the biggest possible pre-approval you can when you're buying a house in Canada. And some good changes coming to Realtor.ca. They're going to help home buyers in Saskatchewan. You'll also notice in the bottom of this video, we're going to have data scrolling. You can see what's going on kind of at a glance in the Canadian real estate market. I wish you could click on that and jump directly to that segment of the video, but you can't. Instead, you can click the subscribe button though. Let's take a look at CMHC's new 2025 housing market outlook. The quick highlights from this report: they're expecting uncertainty because of course, tariffs and immigration changes. You've got the rental market, probably seeing prices decline. Housing starts will probably decline as well, but they're expecting home prices and sales to rebound in 2025. In the past, I've had my disagreements with CMHC's forecast, and while I don't necessarily agree with all the points in this one, they do have some really good ones that I want to break down for you. One of their core arguments in this article is that there's all this pent-up demand just sitting on the sideline, waiting to jump in and buy a bunch of houses in Canada. I've said it before, one of the many reasons why we're seeing slower sales in 2023 and 2024 was because in 2020 and 2021, when the Bank of Canada dropped interest rates, they got exactly what they wanted. More people to go out and buy houses. That pulled demand forward. People that probably would have bought in 2023 and 2024 instead bought in 2020 and 2021. So we don't have all of these buyers waiting to buy. They've already purchased a home. But a lot of the subsequent points they make in this article are really good. They're expecting more sales due to the changes around mortgage rules. So that is the longer amortizations and insurable mortgages up to $1.5 million. This doesn't make homes any more affordable. It just allows homebuyers to take on more debt. They're expecting stronger activity in the resale market than the new construction market. This is one that I really agree with how expensive it is to build a new home in Canada. It makes it very hard for most home buyers to even look at new construction right now. I've seen it all over the internet, in my comment section, Reddit, Twitter, everything else about how millennials have been priced out of buying homes in Canada. But the facts are that millennials are the largest home buying demographic in Canada right now. Yes, more than boomers, and they have been for a while now. They also touch on home buyers that purchased a home during the pandemic who are now coming up for renewals. I actually think this is a bigger point than CMHC is letting on, for two specific reasons. The most obvious one is those that are going to struggle with those higher payments on renewal are going to be stuck in a position of potentially losing the home or being forced to sell it and downsize into something smaller. But the other thing that I'm hoping at least happens here in Saskatchewan is those existing homeowners that maybe would have made a move up purchase, but because they don't have mortgage portability, they've got those low interest rates that they don't want to give up. They've chosen not to sell their houses. Once those renewals come due, those homeowners say, okay, well now I'm going to have to pay those higher interest rates. I should at least look at the option of doing that move up purchase that I wanted to do in the first place, but didn't because that ultra low interest rate. And that might free up some inventory in the starter price point, because that right now, again, here in Saskatchewan, is one of the toughest places for a home buyer to be in right now. There's just nothing available for listings. And then they talk about the uneven recovery. Thank you, Captain Obvious. They talk about how the Ontario and BC downtown condo markets will continue to struggle. Again, probably no surprises there. And then Alberta, and you might as well throw in the rest of the prairies, will likely see sales and prices rebound. Well, it's already happening. If you watch my last month's Canadian real estate market update, here's the top 5 cities in Canada for largest year-over-year price increases. Starting off number 5, 3.5% in Saskatoon, Regina, 5%. Montreal saw a 6.5% increase. Winnipeg was up 7%, and Edmonton was up 11%. CMHC also put out their most recent data on housing starts in Canada, and those are down 2.5%, about 236,000 starts. This is a quick look at the Canadian real estate market from the monthly Canadian Real Estate Association stats. The highlights are sales are down 3% month over month, but they're up 3% year over year. New listings are down 11% month over month. The home price index down 0.8% month over month, up 0.7% year over year, and the average price is up 1.1% year over year. What do these stats mean to you as somebody who's watching the market or thinking about buying a house in Canada? On my mind, there's two important things to look at here. Nationally, home sales and prices have been trending up. Clearly, sales nowhere near long-term averages, mainly held back by the sluggish markets of Toronto and Vancouver, which really dominate the national stats. And nationally, home prices have not eclipsed their peaks in early 2022. But there's also a very stark divide between the regions in Canada and what's going on in the markets and different property types as well. The surge in listings the Canadian Real Estate Association is talking about is very much concentrated in the downtown Toronto and Vancouver condo markets right now. If you look at other areas like Atlantic Canada, Quebec, and the Prairies, except maybe you can make the argument for Calgary, new listings are down. Regina here, we badly need new listings because active inventory is so low right now. It's extremely challenging for home buyers. You didn't think I forgot about the bad dad joke, did you? Of course not. Why do potatoes make such great detectives? Because their eyes are always peeled. Realtor.ca has got some new changes that'll help home buyers in Saskatchewan. Wouldn't it be nice when you were looking on Realtor.ca for that house that you love, that it not only showed, of course, the price and the information about the property, but whether it was already conditionally sold, which right now 25% of all the houses you see are going to be conditionally sold? That would be fantastic, right? The good news for home buyers in Saskatchewan is that there's two changes coming to Realtor.ca. The first one is that properties that are conditionally sold will now show as a pending sale on the website. You'll also have the ability to search by the closest lake, kind of a cool thing for Saskatchewan. And to our home sellers, there's actually some changes that help out sellers as well. This is just rolling out to be about a month before the launch actually happens, but it's an online booking system. So now a buyer's agent can just look at the property on our system and request a showing, and it'll go directly either to the seller's phone or to the agent's phone. It'll be a yes, no to confirm the showing, or you can suggest a different time. As a seller, you're gonna know who's booking the showing, and you're gonna be able to have on the app all the showings that are booked on your property, so you know exactly when and who is coming to see your house. This is gonna simplify things greatly. Right now, I have to phone the agent phones the seller gives an answer, they call me back. It's a little bit of a mess. This is gonna be way better. And maybe you've been looking to buy a house in Regina, you've been disappointed that a house got sold before you got to see it. Well, if you give me a call, I'll make sure we get out and see that house before it's conditionally sold. There's be a link in the description of this video to my calendar where you can book me in for a call. Let's do a quick look at the Canadian Bankers Association's most recent mortgage arrears data. The mortgage arrears rate in Canada continues to be exceptionally low. Now 3 months in a row, it's been around 0.21%. And to show you just how low that actually is, let's look at some charts. That really small line at the bottom, that's the Canadian mortgage arrears rate. Next one up is the United Kingdom, and the top one is the United States. So Canada right now at 0.21%, the UK at 0.74%, and the United States at 1.5%. Despite all of the headlines saying how there's so many power of sale listings and foreclosures going on in Ontario right now, it's actually below the national average at 0.18%. It's about 3,800 total listings in the entire province. A year ago, the mortgage arrears rate was 0.17%. It went from about 8,500 mortgages in arrears to a little over 10,000 today. And if you go back 2 years ago, it bottomed out at about 0.15%, around 7,000 mortgages in arrears. Clearly, mortgage arrears is trending up, and it will probably continue to trend up. It's important to note that this data does have a 90-day lag period because that's when it gets reported as a mortgage in arrears. So this data comes from November 2024. Even with interest rates rising 5% in basically a little over a year, we haven't seen mortgage arrears climb to even the pre-pandemic levels. Watching these stats through 2025, though, is going to be really interesting, because that is when the beginning of all those ultra low 2020 mortgages will start renewing, and those homeowners are going to face a fairly significant increase in those interest rates. What are this week's best mortgage interest rates? Let's find out. Starting off with insurable mortgages, The best 3-year is through CMLS at 4.19%, that's unchanged. The best 5-year is through Marathon at 4.14%, unchanged. Looking at the best 5-year variables, the best static payment is 4.35 through Manulife, unchanged. And the best adjustable, 4.25 through B2B, also unchanged. Now let's look at what's going on for uninsurable mortgages. The best 3-year fixed, 4.59 through CMLS, that's an increase. The best 5-year fixed, 4.79 through Manulife, that is also an increase. The best 5-year static variable through Scotiabank, 4.65, that's unchanged. And the best adjustable, 4.7% through B2B Bank, that's an increase. It was a very boring week with the big 5 banks and their best 5-year insurable fixed rate mortgages. Nothing changed on the leaderboard, and only Scotiabank saw a slight increase in their 5-year rate.
Why should you ask the bank for the largest possible pre-approval when you're buying a house?
Whenever I'm sitting down with home buyers, I give them one simple question to ask their bank or their mortgage broker. What's the most amount of money you will possibly lend to me? Not saying you should spend at the absolute maximum you get pre-qualified for, but it's an important piece of information to know. The reason is you might miss out on a really good house if you've set a limit of what you want to spend, which you should. You should work this budget backwards based on your pre-approval and see what's going to work for you. And maybe that number is, say, $350,000. If you go to your bank and say, hey, can I spend 350 grand? And they'll do the pre-approval and say yes, it might not tell you that you could spend more if you wanted to. So you're out looking for houses under $350,000 and you miss out on a fantastic one at $355,000 or $360,000, and you could even potentially negotiate that price down to get it within your budget, or you make the decision to spend a little bit more money because it has XYZ features and it makes sense within your own budget. So when you sit down for your pre-approval, ask them a simple question. What's the most amount of money I can possibly spend?